save it as a new one, so I don't have to start all over, you know? There we go. And then just delete it. Start from scratch here. So we are doing that very first one, number 1. In the side view. It's really the front view, but it's when you look at the part, it's more of a side view. Looks something like this, I think. How tall is that? Just trying to get the proportions right here. And it's got this a lip on the underside. Yeah, so that's the front view without the holes or the arc. That's it. So I'll do those in a little bit. So I'm going to move on now to the top view. And you know what we want to do to get top view in place is put the construction lines XL, enter, and then V, enter. And I'm just snapping to the grid right now. Back to my object layer. And that's it for the object lines, again, without doing the holes in the arc. There is a hidden line for this lip that goes underneath, and that appears to go right down the middle, pretty close. I'm going to push it off to the side a little bit so that it doesn't interfere with the center line of this arc. I don't want them to overlap because I want you to see them both. So I'm going to make it a little off center and maybe a little more toward this side. So that's this lip or notch underneath here. I think at this point I will do the circles, the holes anyway. I'm going to wait for that big arc. I'm going to do that in the right side view where it appears to be an arc, where it looks like an arc. But I will do the holes now because this is the view in which they appear to be holes. So C, enter, and again, I'm just kind of winging it here. Just winging their placement. All right. And now I'm going to move on to the right side view. And you know, I got to do the transfer line. So I use that construction line to do that. XL, enter, and then A, enter, and then 45, enter. And then back to my construction layer. XL, enter, H, enter. Put in the construction lines we need. Then to do these vertical ones, remember it's always best to turn off the grid and turn on the object snap. So F9 to turn off the grid, F3 to turn on the object snap, or you can click down here. Because I want to make sure I'm getting these intersecting points and not the grid in the background that's close to that. Because what I really am trying to do is get the intersection of this 45-degree line and those 3 horizontal construction lines. And now I can do the rest of this. And I'm going to keep it in object snap because again, I'm trying to snap on these intersecting points here, not necessarily the grid that's behind them. All right. So that is everything in the right side view, except for the holes and the arc. So now it's time to talk about those guys, the holes in the arc. Before I do that, I'm going to do a little housekeeping here. I'm going to trim this transfer line and get rid of the bottom portion. And turn off my construction lines that I don't need, the regular ones there. All right. I think my next step is going to be to draw the arc. And the arc is just centered on this line here. So if I go to my circle, I like to use the circle instead of the arc. It's just, I think it's just more intuitive. And I want to make sure I'm grabbing the center line right there. And I'm getting that little icon that shows a little triangle midpoint. And that's because I have my object snap on. And I'm going to drag it out and click somewhere on the grid. Now I'm going to turn the grid on, F9, and grab pretty close to the edge. I think that's about right. My next step is to trim out what I don't need, TR, enter, and just get rid of that stuff. I'm going to do that one more time with you. So I have the object snap on, C, enter for circle, click on the midpoint, and bring this out. And I am going to use the grid because that's going to make it easier this time for doing the other lines. So I'm going to turn the grid back on, F9, and I'm going to click on it right there. And then I'm going to trim this away, TR, enter, trim these 2 pieces away. So I have the arc done in it where it appears as an object line in its head-on position, and same with the holes. So now what we need to do with those features is project them into the other views as their side views, shown with center lines and hidden lines. So to do that, we are going to need to go to our construction layer, and I'm going to turn on my hole construction layer, and that's the one I like to use for doing holes and these arcs and things. And just like before, go to construction line, X, L, enter. Always start with the center points. You got to do that. So I'm going to drag my cursor across the circle, grab its center point, and then straight out and up. Same with this one, straight out and up. Same with this one, out and up. So now I've got all the centers of these holes and arcs indicated with a vertical and horizontal construction line. Now I can do their edges. Construction line V, enter. So I'm going to just use the vertical snap to get these done very quickly. There you go. And now I'm going to have to project these holes up on top across the transfer line down into the right side view. And the same with this large arc. I'm going to have to transfer it up across the transfer line into the top view. So using horizontal construction line, I'm going to grab these circles. There they are. That's done. And bounce across the big arc. So its lines are coming up here. Got that one. Make sure it's showing the intersection point. And this one here got its intersection point. And then the circles, intersection point, intersection point, intersection point. It's getting to be a lot of construction lines. Little messy. One thing that will clean this up a lot is if we use this transfer line as a cutting edge and get rid of all the lines on both sides of it. Check this out, TR, enter, and then another T, enter. And then you choose it, and then you hit enter, and then you just get rid of all this stuff. Get rid of all these and get rid of all these. And now it kind of makes more sense as they bounce down and across. All right. So we'll do the center lines now. I'm going to go to my center line layer, type L, enter for line. And with my object snap off, turn that off. I'm just going to use the grid snap for now. And I'm going to get these circles over here done. I'm just going 2 squares past the circle. And on this one, you got to make sure you pick the right one. Follow it across. It's this guy here. Same with the top one. Make sure you're following the right one down. There it is. Okay, one last set of center lines that we need is this arc. And I don't want to go all the way across because I don't want to touch the object lines over there. That's basically how you would do it. You might be tempted to bring it out and do something like this. But the truth is that's just confusing because now you have this line running into object lines, and someone looking at this, especially if it was all printed in black and white, might see this line and wonder, is that just the object line going across? You know, what is that? So the better thing to do is to actually have a space right there like that. So the only one that's actually extending beyond the object is this line right on the bottom there. All right, let's show this arc in the other 2 views. And I'll go to the top. And it's going to be like this here. in this view over here, again, you might be tempted to do something like this, but it's really, this just looks strange. It's just looking like the object line is extending out the top for some reason, and it's just going to be confusing. So that is not really a good place to put a center line. Although technically it is there, I'm not gonna do that because it's just confusing. Okay, and now I think we're ready for the hidden lines. So I'm going to go to my hidden line layer and do those guys. Go up to the top view and do the sides of the arc. And that's just regular object lines, because they're not hidden. You can clearly see those edges, and they are from here to here. And from there to there. You know what, I think I have a little mistake here. For some reason I deleted this line. I meant to do that. That belongs over there. All right. One last hidden line. So in the front view, the bottom of this big arc is shown with a hidden line. I do believe that's it. I'll turn off the construction lines so you can see them. See this drawing without any. It's a little more clean that way. Of interest is that this material here is thinner than this material in the back. And you can see in the right side view how that is the case. And so this hole right here is a deeper hole because it's going through more material, which is why it's shown here deeper as well than this one. Okay, turning all of my construction lines on now. And again, trimming, I'm going to trim the remainder of them off using that method I was talking about before where you trim to an edge. And I'm also going to trim around the entire object just to clean it up. Just get rid of all that. There it is. And now I'm going to put my border on there using the rectangle command. And I'm going to make that little mini title block where you can put your name. So you go to the text button, you make a text window from corner to corner. Try that one more time. Corner to corner. You type your name in all caps. Select it by typing Control A. Justify it middle center. Type the size you want. I'm going to go with 0.6, enter. And then the green check mark.